welcome to Graceful Healing, a podcast to get straight talk about healing and living again. My name is Maureen Lake. I'm a holistic health coach, speaker, author, and thyroid disease fighter. Each week, I'll be bringing you graceful conversations to inspire you to seek new ways to hit the reset button to catapult your health and vitality to new levels. Listen in and open your heart to all the new possibilities. Are you ready? Let's do this. I'm so excited for you to hear this podcast with Rachel O'Rourke. She's one amazing woman who has literally transformed her life. As a single parent of 3 small children, to now a multiple business owner, each business making over 6 figures, she is the authority in mindset, changes, and visualization. I can't wait for you to listen as Rachel explains all of her expertise in this area. But in particular, she talks about her morning routine that has literally changed the trajectory of her life. I mean, come on, who doesn't have a few extra minutes every single day to devote to a powerful, life-changing mind shift? And not to give too much away, but a tiny bit of what Rachel shares has to do with visualization, how meditation works hand in hand with visualization, and of course, affirmations. But that's just a tiny bit of her story. I can't wait for you to hear the whole thing. So get ready to learn some information that will literally change your life. Here is the amazing Rachel O'Rourke. Hi, Rachel. How are you today?
Hi, Maureen. I'm fabulous. Thank you. Excited to be finally chatting with you.
I know it's been a while. It's taken us a while to connect, but
I know.
Then I heard that you had been ill, so now I'm really glad you're feeling good.
Oh, yeah. Well, I had to have my appendix removed, which meant I had to do nothing for an entire week, which has proven harder to be still than I ever imagined, but I feel much better now.
Oh, good. Good. That was probably a really good lesson to learn too, just how to pause.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think we realize everything that we do, even subconsciously, just things that are running through our brain and thinking about things that we should be doing until we are 100% forced to not do it.
Mm-hmm.
So eye-opening.
Oh, I bet. So I'm so excited to have you on the show today because, I mean, as you know, I've done your mastermind, which is incredible. And I can't wait to get to Portland in June for your amazing weekend. And I'm bringing one of my very best friends with me, and we're so excited for that. I cannot wait.
I'm so excited too. So you're coming to Show Up Live, which is June 21st, 22nd, which is the summer solstice. Those are the longest days of the year in Portland, Oregon. Just in the middle of the year, it's going to be phenomenal. I can't wait to squeeze you.
And your lineup of speakers is incredible.
Right. I'm just so grateful. And the fact that I get to do this with Maru Yabicella, who I got to tell you, the first time I met Maru was at an event. I was an attendee and she was a speaker, and I had been following her online for a while, and I was so starstruck when I first met Maru. I had her up on this pedestal, right, where I thought she was just this celebrity person, and she really is. She's an amazing person. But in getting to know her and her being a speaker at a couple of my events and now getting to do one together, I just feel like the world is coming full circle. It's amazing.
Oh, that is amazing. So I can't wait for people to hear your personal story and really your journey about where you landed, where you are today, because I know it's powerful. And I know mindset is a big piece of it, which is something all of us struggle with. So can you share with us your personal journey and help us connect the dots to where you, how you ended up in your incredible business today? Awesome.
Yeah. Absolutely. And this could take 5 hours, but I'm going to try to minimize it down to maybe less than 30. So I try to pinpoint this because I think that there's been definite points in my life where something major has shifted, and I have majorly shifted. And the first real big one I think that has really transformed my life was, we're 2019. So this is 8 years ago. 8 years ago, I was in a marriage to a man I had been with for 9 years. And for like 6 out of those 9 years, I was really unhappy. Nice guy. I can't say like he's not a bad person. We didn't really fight. He wasn't abusive or anything like that. He just wasn't my guy. We were very, very different people. And we got married because I was young and I got pregnant. So there's that. And I had planned on like trying to plan a divorce because we had lived out away from our family for a long time, and we were planning on moving closer to where my family was. And I was like, all right, when we move back to Chico, I'm going to ask for a divorce. This is going to happen. And we had 2 kids at the time. And a week before we moved, I found out that I was pregnant with my 3rd son.
Oh.
And I was devastated, just devastated. I was like, how can I be a single mom of 3 kids? How can I be pregnant and going through a divorce? And so I just decided that this was my life. I was just going to live basically with a roommate who I occasionally slept with and raise these kids. And that was the life I was meaning to live. And I had my youngest, Jet, and he was maybe, 6 to 9 months old, somewhere in that range. And I went on a road trip with one of my best friends, and I could never tell her how sad I was and how really sad my life was, because she had this great marriage. Her and her husband were like people that you would see like in the movies, and they're just like this perfect couple. And we're in the car driving to Reno, and she all of a sudden breaks down crying and starts telling me how unhappy she's been for the longest time and how she puts on like this fake front in this life. So nobody knows really how sad her marriage is. And she said something that I'll never forget it. She said, I just wish he would cheat on me so I would have a reason to leave. And I remember just feeling so sad for my friend, but more sad for me because I felt the same way. And in seeing my friend go through this, it was like looking in a mirror, and I saw my life, and I saw what my life was going to continue to be if I stayed restless in this life, in this marriage that I really wasn't happy in. So I went home and I asked for a divorce. And that really was the beginning of everything that changed for me. I went from being in a marriage and just a relationship where I was very unhappy into just discovering who I was, because I met him when I was 19. And you just really don't even know who you are really until you're in your late 20s, early 30s, I think. Like you start really discovering what you want.
Right.
When you get beyond your 20s. And I was I'm feeling lost. It was maybe 6 months after the divorce. And I kept hearing this advertisement on the radio for this women's personal growth event. And I had never done anything like that. Never read a self-development book or anything at this point. And something inside of me said I needed to go to that event. And I took 2 days off of my brand new job and went to this event, and I sat down at the table, and there was this woman sitting next to me, and she was just talking and talking and talking. And the speaker started talking, and this woman is still talking and talking and talking. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to get in trouble. And that woman was Molly Openshaw.
Oh, for heaven's sakes. And she's been a guest on my podcast. So that's awesome.
Oh, see, full circle.
Yeah. Yep.
So Molly is my best friend. She ended up being the maid of honor in my wedding, my second wedding, the man I'm married to now. Yeah. And I met her at my first ever personal growth event. And man, so much has happened since then. And there's been moments since then that I can pinpoint that have really changed me. And one of them was going through a bodybuilding competition. It was maybe 2 years after my divorce. And I was a very insecure person. I was not happy in my body. My ex-husband had never told me that I thought I was pretty, or he just never complimented me. And if you feel like that for 10 years, you start to believe that you're just not anything special. So I had a friend who was trying to convince me to do this bodybuilding show with her. And I was like, you're crazy. I've had 3 kids. I've got tiny boobs. I have like varicose veins. There's no way I'm getting on a stage. And something inside of me, though, Maureen, kept poking me and saying, what if you just tried?
Mm-hmm.
And I decided that I was just going to put all of my effort into it and just see what would happen. And I decided I needed to hire the best bodybuilding coach in our area. And I made a consultation with this guy. We'll call him Ben. And I showed up, and at this point I had started telling people, like, I announced it on social media, I'm doing the bodybuilding show. And I was all in. When it's a superpower, I think, that I have. When I go in on something, I go like all in.
Uh-huh.
So I get to this consultation with this coach, and I'm in a bikini, and he's like staring at me for the longest time. And he says, this is a really expensive sport. In addition to paying me, you've got to pay the competition fees, and you got to get the bikini, and you have to get supplements and the tan and all of these things. And really, it's just kind of a waste of money if there's no way in hell you could ever win.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, oh, why wouldn't I be able to win? And he's like, well, you're got varicose veins and you need a boob job. And everything I had, like insecurity that I had, this guy was pointing out. And I went out to my car and I cried and I cried and I cried. And I was just like devastated. And I closed my eyes trying to calm myself down. And I saw this vision of myself standing on a stage, staring out at hundreds of people. And I could see my family in the front row, and my 5-year-old was on my then fiance's shoulders, and I could just feel the pride in my heart, and it felt so real. And I knew in that moment I had to decide if I was going to move forward believing in the opinion of somebody who didn't even know me, or if I was going to believe in the possibility of that vision. And I decided I was going to believe in the possibility. And anytime, so from that moment on, I started getting up at like 3 a.m. to work out so I could have 2 hours of gym time before I had to go home and start meal prepping, before I woke the kids up for school, before I would have to get ready for work and do all of the parenting / adult things that you have to do in life, right? And
as a single parent.
Yeah. And at this point, like that voice in your head kept popping in, right? It kept trying to say, like, who do you think you are? You're like, you can't get on that stage. You're going to look like make fun of yourself. And what if Ben is right? Like, there's no way that you're ever going to be able, because we live and I used to live in a college town, and the majority, there's like maybe, 40, 50 girls that go to do the class of bodybuilding that I was doing. And 95% of them were under the age of 21. And here I am, I'm 32 years old, and I've had children. But anytime that voice would pop in my head, I would just focus on that vision, and it would help shift my mind to thinking about what was possible versus all of the reasons I shouldn't be doing that. And some really crazy stuff started happening. I was at the gym working out one day, and the owner of the gym came up to me and he said, Rachel, I've noticed you're here all the time and you're looking really good. What's going on? And I'm like, well, I'm doing the show. And he said, do you think I could sponsor you?
Oh, wow.
I would love to. I'll pay for your gym membership and your competition bikini if you put my logo on your competition robe. And I was like, that's a thing? Yes, you can. And like 2 weeks after that, I'm in the NutriShop, and the owner of NutriShop comes up to me and he's like, hey, I heard you're doing the show. That's incredible. Have you hired a coach? And I was like, yeah, no, I don't think I can afford a coach. And I tried going down that road once. And he said, well, I would totally coach you for free. And if you will put my logo on your competition robe, I will pay for your posing classes. And I was like, what the hell is happening? I felt like I was this magnet for like good fortune.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable. And 16 weeks later, I'm on the stage and they call out my number, and I'm standing there and I'm staring out at the audience, and I see my family in the front row, and my 5-year-old is on my fiance's shoulders. It was exactly 100% what I had been visualizing was right there. And I took home a second place trophy that day.
Oh, good for you.
Thank you.
Gosh.
Thank you. It was a huge pivotal moment for me, not because I did well in a bodybuilding competition, but because my mind shifted that day. I went from thinking that I was meant to live this mediocre existence to thinking like, if I could do this, if I could visualize taking home a trophy and standing on the stage and actually seeing it come to fruition, what else could I visualize and have come true? And it was this complete 180 of the way that I had been thinking about my life. And from that point on, everything has completely changed. So that was 5 years ago. And since then, I went from being a employee working a 9-to-5 job to owning 3 different multi-6-figure companies.
Oh, wow.
I've gone from being terrified to being on a stage to now running one of the most popular self-development summits in the Pacific Northwest called Spark. I went from being a nobody really to like being able to go and speak on stages all over the world. It's been unbelievable. And I've gone so deep down the self-development rabbit hole that now I'm like, not only do I feel like my superpower is being able to visualize and have everything that I visualize come to fruition, but there's so many different, like these hidden superpowers that we all have. Visualization is just one of them. But now at these events and with the different programs and things that I offer, I get to teach women how to actually uncover their own superpowers as well. And it's just been the most gratifying, unbelievable experience. And I love being able to share this story because it reminds me of where I came from and the life that I used to live. And I have to pinch myself constantly because God, life is so good. So good.
Oh, that's so wonderful. Wow. So like, talking to somebody that maybe doesn't know a lot about mindset or visualizing, what are some of the key things that you would advise somebody to how to start?
Well, so I think the first step is really understanding like why we are at where we're at today, regardless of where your current circumstances. There's a reason why you're at. So if you're in a life that is like just kind of like restless and you're bored maybe, or you have things that you want to do, but maybe they're not happening. There's a reason for it. We are constantly, whether we know it or not, creating our reality. And 90% of this is due to our subconscious mind, our subconscious programming. So if you look at the brain as a whole, only like 5 to 10% is conscious thinking. And so an example of conscious thinking is like me saying like, I think I want to lose 5 pounds. I'm going to start exercising. I'm going to start eating right. Well, the other 95% of my brain, the subconscious programming, these are the things that are like on autopilot, stuff that like walking and breathing, because our brain gets so much information and it has to process so much information. It is efficient by creating habit loops and by creating processes like our autopilot, right? Where we are doing things without consciously thinking about it. And this is how we actually function in the world. Otherwise, we would be a freaking pile of nothing on the floor if we had to think about all of the different things that we have to do. The problem with this is our subconscious programming also includes all of our beliefs, all of our habits, all of the things that since we were tiny little people being influenced by parents and teachers and media, all of the things that our brain thinks is truth because either somebody has told it to us or we have thought it multiple times, that becomes like how we move around in the world. And the problem with most people, including how I used to be living, is we don't even understand why we make the decisions that we do. It's because it's been programmed into our mind. So the first step is really recognizing that a lot of the things that are going on in our lives are because of all of the stuff that we are subconsciously creating. So if you understand that, then you can actually start reprogramming your thoughts and reprogramming the way that you think. So you can like design what programming, what autopilot you want in there. And I mean, I think we could probably go way deep in a rabbit hole about the subconscious mind. But for me, visualization is one of the key factors and one of the easiest ways to start reprogramming your subconscious mind. Because our brain doesn't really know the difference between what is happening in reality and what is playing on the movie screen in our mind. So for visualization, if you're visualizing, for me, like I was visualizing constantly myself being on that stage, looking at the audience, feeling pride, holding that trophy, my subconscious brain is thinking that's already happening. So the decisions that I was making on any given day to get up early, to wake up at 3 a.m. and work out and not feel tired, to make the decision to eat, chicken and broccoli and rice over pizza and all of it, everything became so much easier. It didn't seem like it was a fight. All of a sudden, I started attracting the right people into my life, the sponsors who came out of nowhere, all of that, because my brain is like, oh, this is actually happening. I'm going to make this easier for you. And then everything that I wanted just came, like it flowed. Nothing was forced. Everything just happened. And I've learned how to hack my brain essentially, where now I can visualize specific sums of money. I can visualize specific opportunities coming into my life. And by using visualization, meditation, affirmations, those are probably the top 3 tools that I use to redesign or create the life that I want. Everything just almost always falls into place. Now, I'm not saying life is 100% easy, because very often to get to a certain place in your life, you have to break some comfortable barriers and you have to do things that are really scary. I'm just saying that now I feel like I can trust myself more to get past the scary parts. And when opportunities come, I feel much better, like saying yes to stuff, because I know now, based on all of the things that have happened, that even if it seems like it's a weird pivot to the right when I feel like I should be going left, ultimately the universe is lining things up for me. And it really is. It blows my mind, the things that we can create when we really start to shift our mindset.
Yeah, it is incredible. I'm intrigued by your use of meditation along with the visualization and affirmations. Like, do you practice a certain type, or how do you implement that into this whole mindset shift?
So there's so many different types of meditations that are out there. And when I first started meditating, I thought, like, I was very skeptical. Let me tell you, I thought meditation was just for like hippies. And I was like, I have like so much chatter that is going on in my brain. I highly doubt that I'm going to be able to get into a meditative state. It didn't make sense to me. And in the beginning, it really was, I thought I was not doing it right. Because when I would think of people that are meditating, I would think of people that are, sitting there on their comfy little meditation cushion, and they've got their little fingers in their little pose, right? And they're there for hours. And I would sometimes only be able to like quiet my mind for like 30 seconds. And I thought I'm totally failing at this. But I kept practicing it. I read a book, and you might have read it. It's You Are a Badass, Jen Sincero.
Yep.
And she broke it down for me in a way that I could understand, and made meditation to where it didn't seem so scary. And I'm like, okay, if she can do this, I think I can do it. And so I started incorporating it. And the really cool thing about meditation is, even if you only get 30 seconds of being able to be in the present moment, that 30 seconds can completely change your entire day, because it's 30 seconds where you're tapping into the source of the, and I call it the universe, but you can call it God, you can call it whatever you want. There's an infinite energy that has created all of us. And I believe that we all kind of believe in the same thing. We just have different labels for it. But I think 30 seconds of tapping into a connection with God or with the universe, that is unbelievably powerful. You don't need to have an hour long. And I've been fortunate enough where I have been able to get to a place where I can meditate for longer periods of time, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's 5 minutes. And the biggest benefit to meditation for me is being able to just quiet all of the thoughts in my brain that is either thinking about what needs to be done in the future, or possibly worrying about things that have happened in the past, and actually just quieting down to where I'm at right now in this moment. And so my practice is, I get up in the morning, and before I do anything, I'll go pee, maybe sometimes have a glass of water, and then I'll go sit down, and I start by going through a guided meditation. So for me, just going in and listening to meditation music right off the bat, my thoughts are still going.
Right.
So I'll listen to a guided meditation, maybe like to 10 minutes long. And I use an app called Insight Timer, and it's free. And there's a bunch of great meditations on there. And there's other apps that are out there as well. And I have a handful that are my go-tos, just so I can have a voice that kind of gets me focused.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, I'll think about what I want to create for the day, or what I want to create for the month, what my big goals are. And then I'll just put on meditation music or chanting or something that's no voice is talking. And I'll get into that present moment, and I will just think about what it's going to feel like when I achieve that goal. And this, if you understand the law of attraction, and I'll explain it in my terms. So the law of attraction for me is the fact that everything is made up of energy. Humans, this computer that I'm in front of, our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions, they're all made up of energy. And when that energy is vibrating at a certain frequency, and like frequency attracts like frequency. And so when people say they're high vibed, they're basically saying they're running at a high frequency, which for me is the feeling of joy, love, passion, all of the amazing feelings that you feel when you experience or when you get something that you want. You feel gratitude, right? Those are high frequency emotions. And then on the opposite scale, your low frequency is worry, anxiety, stress, jealousy, all of really even just complacency, boredom. Those are low frequency vibrations. So when I'm meditating and when I'm visualizing and I'm trying to think about the feelings of what I'm going to feel when I achieve the goal for the day or the goal for the month or whatever it might be, I am essentially raising my vibration to what it's going to be like when I achieve it. And going back to our subconscious mind doesn't know what's actually happening right now or what's happening in the movie screen in our mind. And so by visualizing during my meditation what I want to happen and how I'm going to feel, it's drawing it closer to me at a much faster rate than if I were to just be putting a vision board up, or if I were just to be, maybe writing down what I want.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually changing my emotions, and I think it's why I'm kind of known as the magical manifesting queen. I can manifest pretty much anything that I want, but I really think it's because I do have this daily practice of meditation and visualizing. And then the way that I incorporate affirmations is whenever a negative thought comes up in my mind, if there's something specific that I want to accomplish, but I have maybe a negative thought that pops up that says like, oh, you're going to feel overwhelmed if you try to go after that. Then I basically flip those negative thoughts and turn them into affirmations. So if my negative thought is, I feel overwhelmed, then my affirmation is, I am able to handle everything in my life with flow and ease. And I'll just say that to myself over and over and over again, which again goes back to how you reprogram your subconscious mind. Your subconscious will turn whatever thoughts you were thinking frequently into a truth. And it'll make you like, it's those habit loops again, your thought loops. So if I'm telling my subconscious mind, either by actually verbally saying it out loud, I move through life with ease and flow. I move through life with ease and flow, or writing it down.
Mm-hmm.
I'm basically creating a new thought pattern in my brain. And then instead of worrying if I'm going to be overwhelmed, my brain just tells me, no, you're not going to feel overwhelmed. And guess what? I hardly ever feel overwhelmed anymore, even though I have way more stuff on my plate than I did 6 months ago, a year ago, because I've essentially trained myself not to have that feeling anymore.
Wow. That's incredible. Do you ever fall back into your old habits?
Oh God, yes. And you know what's interesting? This happens, I don't know, maybe once a quarter, where all of a sudden I will feel a little bit of chaos in my life, or I'll feel a little bit of like maybe an old worry will pop up. And it's fascinating because every time that happens to me, I'll look at my routine and think, oh, I haven't done my daily ritual in the last 4 days because I've been traveling.
Oh.
It's 100% always tied to how consistent I'm being with how I start my morning, really. And that's why, the number one thing you can do if you're looking to change your life is create a very solid morning routine. And for me, that includes meditation, visualization, and affirmations. Because anytime I've ever gotten out of that, and life happens, I mean, like just in the last week, I was in New York and we had a bunch of stuff that was going on. And then I had appendicitis and I was in the hospital and all of a sudden, like I start feeling like there's these old, like Rachel version 1.0 worries start coming up again.
Yeah.
And I have to remind myself, oh, okay, one, look at your habits. No, I haven't done all the things that I tell people they're supposed to be doing and that I know work for me. And two, sometimes you just have to remind yourself, I'm not Rachel version 1.10 anymore, right? I am Rachel like 2000.0. And those worries aren't relevant to me anymore. And that alone is really transformational. I was just talking to somebody about this yesterday. They're like, how do you get past those old like thoughts that you're going to fail or like this is scary? And I'm like, you just have to tell yourself like that is not relevant to me anymore. I'm a different person.
I totally agree. I have a morning routine too, and whenever I like steer away from it, which lately has been quite often, but now I'm trying to get back focused, it like makes such a tremendous difference. And for me, one of the things, like I meditate also, I practice transcendental meditation, which is a little bit different, but my journaling, just free writing, basically like 3 pages and then I'm done, has been so powerful. And when I get away from that, I really notice a real big change in not only my mindset, but my attitude during the day. Everything kind of just, I don't know, goes down a notch or two. And once I realized that, I'm like, okay, wait a minute. I got to get back to my morning routine and faithfully do this. It only takes maybe 20 minutes, 25 minutes to do everything. So why not?
Well, I mean, if you think about it this way, if you're sitting, like right now, I'm sitting in a chair, but all of a sudden I realize like, oh my God, I smell awful. Why do I smell so awful? Oh, I haven't taken a shower in a week. That's why I smell awful. It's the same thing. Like these habits that we've created because we know we take showers to stay clean. We brush our teeth so we have obviously no cavities, but we have good breath. If you don't do it, there's consequences. It's the same thing with mindset rituals and habits. And I'm glad you brought up journaling because I think journaling is one of those things that's another way of one, getting the thoughts out onto a piece of paper, but you can also journal and write down what you want, the seeds that you want to plant in your mind. And that's why I think journaling about your goals and your future is so unbelievably powerful. It's just another form of reprogramming your mind.
That's so true. Oh gosh, I can't wait to like tweak my morning routine now. I'm not kidding. I'm going to really visualize more because that's honestly one thing I don't do very well. And I'm sure it's just takes practice, right? I mean, my visualization is really more like writing it, or I just don't necessarily think or visualize it clearly. I need to get better at that.
Well, you know what? If writing is your thing, and so I have a program that I'm doing right now called Unlock Your Potential. And this week we're going over morning routines. And like I share mine, but there's so many different things that you can incorporate. And with writing, if writing is like that is where you feel like the creative flow, and that's where you feel like your sort of meditation. You can like write down, and when I do this thing called the 5-year exercise with people, write down like, if there was no limitations, where are you going to be in 5 years? What do you want to be doing? How do you want to be feeling without anything of like how it's going to happen, any sort of restraints? If I am like the genie in Aladdin and I'm handing you a lamp and you have unlimited wishes, what would you choose? And if you could write it down, like you're in the present tense, like it's, and I have people write me a letter. So write me a letter as if like 5 years from now, you've gotten everything that you want. Tell me what's going on. And they email me these letters, and you could write one to a friend, but write it down and then revisit it a few times a week, or if you need it every morning. And just by reading what you wrote, that is a form of visualization, because you can't read something and not visualize it in your head. Like if I say the words to you right now, pink elephant, your brain automatically visualizes a pink elephant. It's impossible not to. So same thing with writing down like what you want in your life. Write it down, but then don't just leave it and close up your journal and put it away. Reread it. And then your mind will start visualizing it whether you want to or not.
Oh, that is powerful. Wow. I'm going to definitely start that. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh God, we could talk about this stuff all day long.
I know.
This is my jam. This is so much fun. It's life-changing stuff. And, it just seems so simple. It seems so simple. Oh yeah, just spend 10 minutes a day, focusing on reprogramming your mind and visualize and say affirmations. And it's just so simple, but people don't do it. And it's so easy not to do. And even when it's something that you should do and you don't do it. I mean, it's kind of like exercising and eating right? You got to do it, but you don't do it.
Right.
It's a matter of just creating a habit. And that's why the morning ritual and the morning routine is so powerful, because when you create the habit of doing it for 30 minutes a day or whatever that looks like for you, it's just like exercising your body. Your body will be in shape if you exercise it every day and you feed it good food. Your mind will be a fertile ground for planting the seeds that you want if you focus on spending time programming it every single day.
That makes such perfect sense. And how powerful. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so excited that you're on this podcast, because this is like unbelievable information to share. It really is.
Well, I'm so glad you invited me. This is a great conversation. Yeah. And it's not something that I get a chance to talk about a lot on podcasts. So I'm actually really excited you asked me these questions, because I feel like this is stuff that really can, like, if you're listening and you're like, okay, it sounds interesting. I don't know if it's for me. I was there before. Just give it a try. Just if you try something for 30 days and commit to 30 days, and if it doesn't do anything for you, then you put at least the time in. But anybody can do anything for 30 days. And this stuff right here can drastically change your life. For me to go from being like living paycheck to paycheck, in debt, bad marriage, thinking like the highlight of my life was going to be just being a mom. And it has been a highlight, to being able to do the things that I do. I mean, I've been able to like hang out with people like John Legend. I threw a party for the cast of Hamilton in New York. I've got to be on NBC primetime. I get to travel. And I'm not saying this to brag. I just want you guys to know that I never thought this kind of stuff was possible. And 100%, all of this in my life happens to me, and being able to not have to worry about finances and things like that because of these daily habits and rituals that I put into place. And all of that started with a freaking bodybuilding show.
But what a great thing to you prove so many things to yourself by doing that. I mean, the dedication and the work ethic and how you had to train your mind as well as your body. I mean, that had to have been just a huge transformational process to get, to where you are today as well.
Yeah. Well, the body is an easy thing. It's the mind, to train your mind to be able to get through all of the negative chatter and the fears and the worries and the anxiety. I mean, it's that right there. It takes more discipline and it takes more consistency, but it's possible.
Yeah. And you don't see like the outward results because you can't get inside your mind.
Oh, it takes so much trust. Yeah. It takes a lot of trust in your intuition. It takes a lot of trust in the universe or God. I mean, if you start doing these practices, you will get so in tune with your intuition that it will become second nature to just listen to that gut feeling that you have, rather than like questioning it all of the freaking time.
Yeah.
I mean, that is our internal compass, and it's so often we don't listen to it, or we don't even know what it sounds like or feels like anymore, because we've been just over programmed by all of these outside sources. When going internally and then listening to that intuition, that gut feeling, that right there is everything.
Wow, that's really powerful. So you will be sharing like your website information and all your different programs, your seminars and all that, so I can post it on my website and share with everybody. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. So I own multiple different businesses and I do a lot of different things. And so before, it's funny, like 6 months ago, I was like, God, I have way too many websites for way too many companies. And I have like 6 different business cards. So I have actually dialed it all in to one website that you can find out everything, which is just rachelarorick.com. I won't spell it out. You can put it in the notes.
Yeah.
And from there, you can find out about my Spark. So Spark events, which are the self-development summits that I put on. Those are every single September. It's about 300 women over 2 days, going just really deep into personal growth, a lot of mindset stuff. In addition to any events that I'm doing with people. So like the one that you're coming to next month, Show Up Live, is on June 21st and 22nd. That is going to be just a combination of what I bring to Spark and what Maru brings with her live events and Infinite Receiving and all of the different places that I speak. So if you're not in Portland or you aren't going to be able to travel to Portland, oftentimes you can catch me at an event in anywhere in the United States and Canada and sometimes overseas. So hopefully more of those. I'm not going to say hopefully, those will be coming more soon because I am definitely wanting to travel more abroad more. So
it'll happen. Yep, it'll happen.
Yeah. I just launched a podcast too called the Flawed Females Podcast. So if you're listening to this, you probably like podcasts.
Yeah.
And that one I have a co-host named Lizzie, and this is more the funnier side of self-development and what it's like to be a woman. And we talk about things from spirituality to sexuality, from meditation to masturbation and everything in between.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. I can't wait to listen. Sounds like fun.
Yeah, it's a good time.
Yeah.
Very good time.
Well, before we end, Rachel, I always ask my guests one final question. So here it is. If you could give yourself some advice, if you could go back to your younger self and go back in time, what advice would you give yourself, knowing what you know now?
I love this question because it reminds me of what I need to be teaching my children. The thing that I would say to the younger version of me is you will get in life whatever you believe is possible. Mm-hmm. And I realized in hindsight, and we connect the dots looking backwards, that everything I've ever wanted in my life, or everything I ever thought was possible for me, I've always gotten. It wasn't until the moment I started actually believing more was possible that I started getting more out of my life.
Wow. That's beautiful. That's beautiful advice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I've just enjoyed this so much.
Me too. I really adore you. I can't wait to see you next month at Show Up Live.
And I can't wait either. I can't wait. I'm just so excited.
In-person hugs are the best.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Thanks, Maureen.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, thank you for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. If you can, take a moment and give us a review. And please join the VIP room in Facebook for more discussion and insights. You can find us at Graceful Healing Podcast VIP room. See you there and see you next time.